The pro-Palestinian campus protests are getting a lot of attention. But what if it's all a front for a more sinister CCP-influenced campaign? Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. Massive pro-Palestinian protests have popped up across America and around the world, particularly on college campuses. And yet, no protests for the Uyghur Muslims in China's concentration camps. But what if I told you that some of these protests have ties to the Chinese Communist Party? The Network Contagion Research Institute, or NCRI, recently released a report on how CCP influence and radical ideologies threaten critical infrastructure and campuses across the United States. The report digs into ties between the CCP and the Singham network, a sprawling series of nonprofits and other organizations funded by U.S. tech mogul millionaire Neville Singham. Here he can be seen with his wife, Jodie Evans, at the Red Party, the 20th anniversary celebration of V-Day and the Vagina monologues. The choice of color is not an accident. Singham has been involved in far-left activism since the 1970s, and more recently he seems to have become a spider at the center of a global web of Chinese propaganda. Singham is the founder of the software company ThoughtWorks, which is where he made his millions. Very communist of him. To be fair, he sold ThoughtWorks in 2017, saying that, "I decided that at my age and extreme privilege, the best thing I could do was to give away most of my money in my lifetime." And he's been doing that by quietly throwing money at leftist causes, including the pro-Palestinian protests through his network of nonprofits. And then there are his ties to the CCP. Singham served as a consultant for Huawei from 2001 to 2008. Huawei, if you don't know, is a Chinese telecommunications company with close ties to the Chinese military. It's been banned in many countries around the world over national security concerns, and this guy was an advocate for it. A report in the New York Times revealed that Singham attended CCP propaganda coordination conferences. That's him on the bottom right, jotting notes in a red notebook adorned with a hammer and sickle. And sitting next to him is Yu Yunchuan, a party official in charge of disseminating international editions of Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era. Singham has even been accused of funding pro-CCP media campaigns in India.
In India, Singham reportedly poured money into a website called NewsClick. New York Times now claims, I'm quoting, Singham's network financed a news site, NewsClick, that sprinkled its coverage with Chinese government talking points.
These days, Singham lives and works in Shanghai. But there's more to it than just that. He literally shares office space with Shanghai Maku Cultural Communications Limited, a propaganda firm that specializes in promoting a good image of the CCP throughout the global south. And to return the favor, Chinese state media accounts have retweeted people and organizations from the Singham network at least 122 times since February 2020. So yeah, his ties to the CCP run pretty deep. But Singham isn't doing it alone. His wife, Jodie Evans, is in on it too. Evans is the co-founder of Code Pink, an anti-war group that gained popularity protesting the 2003 Iraq War. Code Pink was initially critical of Beijing's human rights record. But since 2017, it, and by it I mean Jodie Evans, has been singing a different tune.
If the US crushes China, it cuts off progress for other ways to live together on this planet, and for many would cut off hope for the human race and life on Earth.
Oddly enough, 2017 is the year Evans and Singham got married. In 2020, Evans spoke at a far-left online conference titled No Cold War. The speeches at the event generally phrased the idea that the U.S. was aggressive toward China, which apparently seeks peaceful relations with the West, and Evans was no exception.
Western powers have been building to oppress and aggress on China for a very long time. The CIA was in Tibet for 20 years before Nixon agreed to take them out. They've been working to destabilize Xinjiang for decades and funded operatives in Hong Kong. All of this can be seen as violating the communiques with China.
Yes, the West is oppressing China by preventing it from invading Taiwan. Evans made troubling statements in her speech, such as that the U.S. elite are obviously terrified of the tremendous economic success of China, and that China's success stands in the way of U.S. domination of the world. Evans has a book coming out in January entitled China is Not Our Enemy, which is co-authored by a researcher employed at Dongshan News and the Tricontinental Institute for Social Research. Those are both Marxist news outlets that often push the CCP's narratives. And Code Pink has even begun denying the Uyghur genocide, relying on reports from the Qiao Collective, which promotes socialism with Chinese characteristics. So yeah, Code Pink's message changed quite a bit after Evans married Singham in 2017. That's also the year that Code Pink started receiving funding from Singham. Fancy that. So Singham is wildly pro-CCP, and he's giving large amounts of money to Code Pink, which is now wildly pro-CCP too. But that's not the only thing Singham has been funding. Singham's money has funded leftist organizations all over the world, including the People's Forum, Answer Coalition, and International People's Assembly. Yikes, the name of that last one really gives off Gulag vibes. All three of which just happen to be listed as so-called conveners of the Shut It Down for Palestine movement. The People's Forum, which is based in Manhattan, claims to be a movement incubator for working class and marginalized communities. Do those marginalized communities by chance include Uyghurs and Tibetans? Probably not. In response to allegations of receiving funding from dark money, the People's Forum basically admitted in a tweet that it gets its funding from Marxist comrade Roy Singham. Well, at least that's staying true to their communist bona fides, taking money from communists who got wealthy through capitalism. The People's Forum has hosted so-called teach-ins, promoting a glorified version of the history of Marxism and national liberation in Korea, Venezuela, and of course, China. Because starvation, forced disappearances, and ethnic genocide are the best way to achieve national liberation. And the People's Forum has, in turn, funded and hosted pro-Palestinian protesters. It was even activists gathered at the People's Forum who encouraged the protesters at Columbia University to step up their civil unrest, after which they occupied Hamilton Hall. Whether or not the People's Forum had anything to do with the gas masks, earplugs, helmets, goggles, tape, hammers, knives, ropes, and book on terrorism that the NYPD found at Hamilton Hall, who knows? Then there's Breakthrough Media, or BT, a so-called alternative news media source operating out of the same address as the People's Forum. A shared address looks like a true example of worker solidarity and collectivism to me. In 2021 and 2022, the People's Forum gave grants to BT Media, on top of financial support from other Singham-linked entities. In May 2023, BT Media attended the Shanghai-based Global Communications Conference of the Global South, alongside other Singham-linked organizations. That conference was hosted by East China Normal University's School of Communications, a public institute funded by the CCP's Education Ministry and the Shanghai municipality, because that's totally normal. The NCRI report also found an overwhelmingly positive portrayal of the Chinese Communist Party in BT Media's YouTube channel, with segments like Xi aims for common prosperity, and how China will win, capitalism inherently collapses. I wonder how they'll explain China's current economic crisis. But since October 7th of last year, BT Media has had something else on its mind. You guessed it, Palestine. In response to reports outlining the Singham Network's ties to the CCP, the Singham Network and other critical China scholars have decried what they say is a new McCarthyism. And also in response, Senator Marco Rubio of Florida asked the U.S. Department of Justice to investigate the Singham Network's ties to the CCP. Rubio believes that these groups may have violated the Foreign Agents Registration Act, which Singham denies, of course, because the only media that can be trusted, aside from his own, is the CCP's media. No doubt all of this bad press is giving the Singham Network a difficult time in advancing its agenda. Nevertheless, this is all very concerning, especially in an election year. Washington is already concerned that Beijing might be trying to interfere in the election, as it has recently in other democratic countries. These campus protests are inflaming political divisions in colleges and universities while stoking unrest more broadly in the U.S., all right before an election. Chaos is the far left's bread and butter. And if it's being assisted by the CCP, that's bad news for all who care about freedom, human rights, and democracy. Now, did you know I also have a show about philosophy? I want to show you a video about that, but first, exposing these kinds of nefarious connections to the CCP is why Chinese state-run media has called China Uncensored disgraceful anti-China garbage, but the CCP hasn't seen anything yet. I'll tease a bit that I've got a big project coming up, and I think you're really going to like it. That's why I need your support. I usually talk about my Patreon page, but China Uncensored is also on Locals. For a small monthly contribution, you can support the show on chinauncensored.locals.com. And as a thank you, I'll answer one of your questions at the end of these episodes. Today's question comes from Komato. Hey Chris, why have you abandoned Rumble? I'm trying to move away from YouTube, and it's kind of annoying to now have to move back to that. I'm glad you brought that up, Komato. So China Uncensored has actually been on Rumble for a while now. Rumble used to have a feature where it automatically uploaded a video from YouTube to my Rumble page. But they got rid of that function and no one told me. I eventually found out and have now been manually uploading videos again to Rumble. So if you want to watch China Uncensored on Rumble, here's the page. Thank you again for bringing that up, Komato. I'm glad to have a chance to let people know the Rumble page exists. And in case you didn't know, I've been trying to get around YouTube's censorship by hiding controversial takes on news, politics, and philosophy in gaming content on my new show, Deep Thoughts While Gaming. The latest is about Minecraft and what it has to say about slavery, religion, and science. Give it a click and let me know what you think. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.